Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Why Did I Lose? The Prismata series, in which I analyze viewer games and tell you why I think you lost. This game comes to us from YouTube user StrShPl, who is known in game to some people as SSP, simply for, like, I don't know, I can't pronounce the actual name because it has like 9 consonants and no vowels, but capital S, capital P is, I have heard this person called SSP before. Anyway, so we're going to have a look at this game. As always, if you'd like to, take a second to pause the video and see how you would play the set. Welcome back. This is a base plus 5 set, and I wondered when I saw like Savior and Tia in the set if this was going to be some weird meme or something. But no, it's not like this game ends on turn 2 or something. This was a real game that was actually played out. I looked at the replay long enough to confirm A, who was first player, and B, is the game more than 3 turns long? And yeah, it was like, I don't know, 12 turns or something it looked like. But I just looked at the replay bar at the bottom, so I don't know what happens on any of the turns. What are we doing here? There's definitely some kind of Doomed Mech Omega synergy, right? It's like you could head up to Omegas and like try to get Doomed Mech plus Wall as like your ordinary turn. You have a lot of Absorb, a lot of Soak, reasonable amounts of attack. So that's like a thing you could try for. I'm not sure how good it is. And that, if both players were going to do it, I feel like you might want Savior to go with it. But of course, you can't just like go Savior because your opponent will Tia you, right? So you have to at least be kind of careful if you want to try that. ISOs, on the one hand, seem like they would be good against that Absorb-focused strategy, but on the other, your opponent can choose to only buy Doomed Mechs on the turns when they will be sacrificing themselves usefully against ISOs. So, there's some counterplay there. I always forget, though, you want your Doomed Mechs to have Lifespan 1 when the opponent's ISOs have Exhaust 1. And they have 5 Lifespan. So the turn you buy... So you want to buy them right before an ISO turn, right? Hang on. God. It's always so hard for me to, like, think through, like, as all these things are ticking down, how do you sync them? And there's a big difference between needing to buy Doomed Mechs on the turn you're defending against ISOs versus on the turn when you're not defending against ISOs. One is much harder than the other. So let's think about it this way instead. Suppose opponent is attacking with ISOs, and I buy Doomed Mechs that turn somehow. It's kind of hard to do, but let's just imagine I could do it. Next turn, next of my turns, my Doomed Mech will have Lifespan 5, while their ISO has Exhaust 2. Yes. Because I bought my Doomed Mech when it was at Exhaust 1. So, if I buy my Doomed Mechs on the turns I have to defend ISO, they're off sync, which is great news, because that means if I buy them on the ISO off turns, they're on sync to defend the on turns. That's what I wanted to find out. So I think that Doomed Mechs would probably be totally okay against ISOs. You don't get sick Absorb value against them, because opponent can buy like Doomed Mech, get like half a Doomed Mech train going, where a Doomed Mech's dying every other turn, and just click their Omega / Doomed Mechs on the ISO on turns. Or on the off turn. On the off turns, you click everything and buy a Doomed Mech. On the on turn, you hold an Omega and buy a bunch of walls. That seems pretty okay. So I'm inclined to think that ISOs do not deny that strategy, which is not to say it's the best strategy, you know. It might just be generally bad. It might lose to Tia, but I don't think it loses to ISOs. So I feel like Tia is the other main factor here. But if you try to rush a Tia, I feel like opponent will be able to get a doomed mech and then just wall, and your Tia's gone. So I don't think a Tia rush is going to be that great. You want to keep an eye on it, of course. I kind of want a disrespect third NG here. But I'm pretty worried that if I try to do that, Masterbot will somehow find a way to Tia me. If there's one unit Masterbot is pretty good at, it's Tia. Like, Tia leads to very short, detail-focused games, and that's what like a computer is pretty okay at. And I certainly mess up Tia games a lot. So I don't really want to get myself into a position where I have to survive against a Tia, unless it's going to be very easy. And I'm not sure if this would make it that easy. Right, like opponent goes DDC, CA or something. I don't know. I'll probably be okay. I still think like that some kind of blue thing is the idea here. You want at least doomed mechs, maybe Omegas, and I think you can manage it. But maybe not. Maybe Masterbot will prove me wrong. Not gonna try. Okay. Just gonna go for like splitters. Well, you know, that's Masterbot, I guess. Oh, really? Could I get a savior against this? I don't think there's any need to. I mean, I could get maybe a late savior. I don't think so. Just keep on droning. Well, if you were gonna get a savior, now would be the time, right? Buy doomed mech every turn? Nah, you don't have enough to drone. Okay. And we're already, I mean, we sort of, well, I don't know. Sometimes I say things like this and then regret it, but I feel like we've already comfortably won this game. Opponent is so far down on, like, drones and is ahead in doomed mechs, but those are just going to die. So I'm not really that impressed by this whole idea. I don't know, do I even want that? Just get another forge? This doomed mech, like, kind of sucks. It's not going to do anything next turn. If I could find anything else to buy, I might consider that. Like, maybe just 2 splitters. Pay 3 extra bucks for the fact that they're not going to die eventually. The splitters also do nothing next turn. Okay, I want the money. Having a doomed mech that dies, like, instead of having 2 splitters is gonna be fine, I think. Savior time? Maybe if we hadn't gotten this 3rd forge, you could work in a savior around now. Okay, so here come the ISOs. We're gonna want to pay attention to what turns we're buying doomed mechs. Good news. this is a turn we didn't want to buy a doomed mech, and it's also a turn when these ISOs mean we... Wait, hang on. This is... Against opponent's ISO timing, this is the turn when you want to be buying doomed mechs. So you might consider not getting an Omega here. But you want an Omega eventually, and it's always going to be hard to buy the first one now that opponent has these ISOs, so you might as well get it now, while it's not actually all that hard. And then it'll be defending pretty well next turn. Speaking of which, opponent attacks for 6, 10, 11 next turn. Holding Omega, we should be able to click both doomed mechs and buy, like, a wall and some stuff. I don't know. I need an Animus, but I have so much spare green. Like, you could buy a Tia with that, obviously, but... Oh. I can just get another Omega. Next turn, opponent probably actually attacks for a bit less than this, so I could hold a drone instead of force fielding, I guess. Right, they're likely to hold this Omega, Doomed Mech. In which case they attack for 6, 8, 9, which is just Omega Wall NG. Then this NG gets me back up to granularity. Yeah, seems alright. Oh my god, Tia's coming. I always let this one sneak by me. No, Masterbot's just gonna float all the red. Okay, sure, good joke. Obviously, like, this is better, since it kills both walls anyway. And we absorb everything. We want to get the Doomed Mech here, and a Splitter. And I kind of want some NGs? I don't know. I'm going to be absorbing like 11, right? I think I'll be fine. Let's just pile on some attackers. Absorbing 10, I mean. There we go. Remembering not to buy a Doomed Mech this turn, we instead say get an Omega. And some NGs. I don't even need NGs. Opponent's not attacking next turn. Just give me another attacker. Opponent, all this kills one engineer. And the opponent gives up. Okay. So obviously Masterbot didn't play this one great, but this is, I think, covered some of the interesting points that I had in mind of what Doomed Mechs plus Omegas might look like against someone who tries ISOs. You know, making sure only to buy Doomed Mechs on the turn when their ISOs are going to be, when they'll be useful against ISOs. Now this one's an exception. We actually bought this before opponent committed to buying any ISOs. So it's not getting a lot of value right now. I think that there should have been some way to get red in all this, because Tia should have been a much bigger threat. Like that game, I think, should involve Tia at some point. We'll see what the players do. Speaking of which, the players are main GI as player 1 versus SSP as player 2. Both players go third NG. Conduit first, seems good. Yeah, Blast Forge first, huh? Okay. What? I don't know why we bought 1 ISO here. I would a million times rather have a Blast Forge here. It's the whole reason we went 3rd Engineer was to get these guys, and because attacking isn't that great. So this is just investing in, like, it's not going to do anything on the first turn, and blue stuff would do something, so I strongly disagree with this Isochronous. Opponent does the reasonable thing, gets drones and a splitter. Now we get a Forge. And a second conduit. I guess we're planning like wall triple ISO. Okay. Honestly, like, you might get away with that Savior. I don't know if this was a joke, but against what opponent is doing? Sorry, I guess against what we're doing. This Savior might just stomp us. But okay, choosing to respect the fact that we've invested in a lot of tech. Opponent says, well, you better be attacking me a lot soon or you're gonna lose, in which case I don't really want the Savior. Just keeps droning, grabs some green. Fine. Yeah, wall triple ISO. Really not gonna be very impressive. Tia time, huh? That's the only reason I can see for this Animus. Well, not the only reason. I mean, like, Tarsiers are fine, but not when we've committed to all these ISOs, right? So we're just, like, I guess setting up for some kind of alpha strike to try to kill the opponent quickly, but it's not gonna happen. I guess you could get 2 Tarsiers to sync with the next ISO wave, but you already have plenty of green, so I don't know why you need more tech to buy more attackers. What do? We get 2 Tarsiers, 2 ISOs. Yeah, but wouldn't you rather just get 2 more ISOs and have some money? I guess we're gonna try for the kill with Tia, basically, right? We must. I don't think it'll work. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen any Doomed mechs from opponent. I think this Omega was too greedy. You kind of have to look at this position as main GI and say, how do I lose this game? I think the answer is, like, you get killed by Tia. And having Doomed mechs available is, like, way better soak. Like, obviously you'd rather attack with them, but if opponent's going to be hitting you with Tia, you might have to soak with some of your blue stuff. You might not be able to defend with just wall, wall, wall. You might have to hold something. And I'd much rather hold a 9 blue, blue, blue for 5 health than hold a 15 blue, blue, blue for 6 health. So I'd rather get, like, Doomed Mech Splitter. It costs the same as Omega, attacks for the same amount, and has lifespan, so that sounds kind of bad, right? But it has 2 more health. And by the time lifespan is relevant, I don't think you'll mind it that much, one way or another. Especially because it'll be arriving on an ISO on turn to defend. But also because the only way opponent's going to kill you is Tia, and I think Doomed Mech would be good insurance against that. But, you know, that's a suggestion for opponent. For us, I would just say, like, that ISOs were the wrong idea. There's too much soak with Doomed Mechs. What? I see. We held the Splitter instead of attacking to kill an NG, so that we can defend wall, wall, Splitter, and not lose any Tia health? Is Tia health really gonna matter? I mean, it might somehow? But My thinking is, like, if you're the player buying a Tia, and your opponent has Omegas, like, you need to kill them. You can't let this Tia not kill them. And you need to be paying more attention to dealing damage to your opponent. Giving up one engineer kill to, like, be better in a post-Tia universe? I don't like it. I would click this splitter here. You see what I mean, though, about, like, wouldn't it be great if this Omega had been Splitter Doomed Mech? You'd just be like, oh, I see. You want to kill me, huh? I'll just hold the Doomed Mech. Or hold Splitters or something. What? I think 4 attack is the same as 5, basically, right? So I would definitely prefer losing a Splitter to losing 2 drones here. If 4 attack lets opponent lose wall onto Tia, but that's silly. They would just lose wall onto Splitter anyway. Yeah, so this Splitter click did nothing. I would much rather hold it to keep the drones alive and get to buy another NG or something. I'd also rather have a second, have Doomed Mech Splitter than have this Omega. So now we, the Tia player, just go in with everything, and no, we have to hold the Splitter. Yeah, I guess that's true, we kind of do. But, wow! We actually clicked the Omega into the Tia. I guess opponent... No. Really? I'm pretty sure it's correct to hold an Omega here so you don't have to buy so many walls. Killing this wall is what this Omega click is doing. And, like, that's not nearly as good as getting to add, like, some non-prompt soak. Like, buy a Doomed Mech that threatens, and then you can soak with it if you need to. I don't know. You wouldn't have to hold the drone, you wouldn't have to force field, like... I mean, our Tia's run out, and we do have a pretty substantial attacker lead, but the problem is we committed a lot to syncing ISOs, and we have exactly 5 off-sync attack against enemies Omega. So, like, these 5 attackers that we have are actually half attackers. They only attack every other turn, and, like, we're actually way behind in attack if you count it that way. An opponent can just, like, comfortably defend now forever, right? I mean, I don't know, wall supply? Yeah, they're out. So that's another reason to have bought Splitter Doomed Mech on some of these turns, is that Doomed Mech is just, like, a non-prompt wall that non-prompt double wall. Like, okay, it's not great, but when you would otherwise run out of wall supply, it seems like a good source of extra soak. I don't know. Kind of like running out of walls so soon makes me feel like SSP might be in an okay position to win this. Apparently did not win it, you know, but yeah, I guess main GI just has so much attack. Every turn compared to, like, every other turn, and so much more absorbed via the Omega. Oh my god, are we gonna go breach proof? Oh, that's so spicy. Okay, wow. I don't know about this. Huh. So I think main GI could have won this more convincingly by getting splitters and doomed mechs sooner instead of the second Omega. But what could SSP have done to win this instead? I mean, I think I already talked about many of those things, right? I dislike this ISO quite a lot. These ISOs don't seem that great. And the Animus... Well, okay, I mean, these ISOs are fine, given that you bought the second conduit to... Like, you're basically saying, I want 3 ISOs next turn, so fine, you get them. I just don't think that, like, committing to ISOs was the way to win this game. And then after committing to ISOs, buying Tarsiers was not the way to win this game. After doing all of that, I think Tia was the way to win this game. You kind of only win if the Tia can do something pretty substantial and you like lose most of the time otherwise. So sure, go for the Tia. I agree. Like I assume you bought the Animus planning to Tia 2 turns later, after getting 2 Tarsiers to line up with the ISOs. Like, which sure, I guess why not. ISOs plus single blue seems like a losing line, and so if you decide it is a losing line, you should do something to spice it up, and Animus seems like a way to do that. Tarsiers and then Tia, sure. And I didn't think about the wall supply as like an issue in this game. But by getting in this much attack before the Tia, the total soak available was a serious issue for main GI. And I've said it many times, but I'll say it again. Like, I think getting doomed mechs and splitters, even just once, would have made that a lot easier. And so would holding Omega on this turn. Like, oh my god, I cannot believe we clicked the Omega. What a play, right? Who would dare such a thing? Oh no, not this turn. That was when we decided to get breached. I'm a little surprised on that turn, but this was the turn I meant. I can't believe we clicked Omega here. Killing opponent's wall just cannot be as important as what this Omega could do on defense. If opponent chooses to exploit by only attacking for 3 and holding the Tia and the Rhino, I'm thrilled. Please, go ahead. In the meantime, I've gotten out a doomed mech and a splitter instead, right? Or something. Right, instead of these 3 walls, I've extended my soak supply by buying some non-prompt soak. Which, like, buying splitter as soak is awful, but when at this point in the game, soak is the last problem that main GI could possibly have. And so I would be happy to buy doomed mech splitter instead of wall, and then just lose them all next turn. I think that would be fine. Instead of clicking this Omega. So I don't know. And then, like, after this, I feel like the ball was mostly in main GI's court, and there's not a lot to say to SSP about what to do differently. You kind of, like, did everything you could by buying the Tia and then clicking it a bunch, and then buying attackers after that. And if that's not enough to win, then nothing you can do is going to win. The stuff that happened after this is sort of just proof that, like, the Tia line didn't work out. I don't think it was close enough that you could have changed something at that point. So mostly I just disagree with, like, opening ISOs and not going into big blue. Maybe the idea was that ISOs deny big blue value, but I don't think they do with doomed mechs. If you buy alternating doomed mechs, they're pretty fine. And you can click the Omegas on the turns that the ISOs aren't attacking. So I think that blue is fine against that. Okay, well, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.